Hello and good afternoon. So, good afternoon to all of you. I'm Ritesh Jaiswal and welcome to PW Only IS. So, good afternoon to all of you. This is our first interaction. Kamal Garg is there already. I can see your name on app, and people will join in YouTube also because this class is going live on YouTube too. So, if you are getting my voice and if I'm visible clearly, then please send some thumbs up, some sign, so that I can get the feedback. Pratiksha, good afternoon. Anshuman, Manjunath. Manjunath, you are here also? Right. I think you were there in some other classes also, if I could remember. Sharda, Ayush, Shukul. I mean, obviously, there could be more than one Manjunath in India. That's not a problem. Anyway, Tawfiq, Shivani, Soumya. Okay. So many people are joining in, and good afternoon to all of you. And we'll talk about the first thing. I mean, this is the first class of science and technology in Titan batch. This is English batch, and we are going to have a lot of discussion over here, right? And people are joining in from YouTube also, right? So I can see lots many people from YouTube. Alok, voice actor Nirbhay, Sadaf. Okay, Sadaf is here for Pranambh. Okay, fine, no issues. So lots many people are there. Okay. So this is going to be our first lecture. So let's mark it as a first lecture of science and technology. And in this lecture, we'll have basically introductory part we'll have. So we'll have more or less like introductory part. So science and tech, right? So this is your area that we are going to cover. And so all set. So now you know that prelims 2025 is done, mains 2025 is done. I mean, yesterday only mains paper 3 GS exam was there, and on YouTube we all faculty did live paper discussion on that, right? So my duty is to make you understand why this science and technology is important, right? What kind of attitude, what kind of temperament you should have, and what should be our strategy to discuss and to develop the temperament for it, right? Right. So, first of all, let's talk about, obviously we don't have any recap of previous lecture, but usually when we start our classes, then I spend 5 minutes just to look into the previous lecture and just I remind some pointers, right? And after that, the topic to be covered. So this is your introductory part. And there in introduction part, we are going to discuss basics of biotechnology. So we are going to discuss basics of biotechnology, but after introduction. So two things we will do here today, that we are going to discuss introduction. So introduction, and I have already given my introduction. So many of you must not be knowing about me. So my name is Ritesh Jaiswal and I teach science and technology and environment in only ISPW, right? And my duty is here to introduce the subject as well. And after introduction is done, we'll talk about basic concepts of biotech. So basic concept of biotechnology that we'll have to discuss, right? Anyway, so let's go with it. let me talk about this science and technology. So when we talk about science and technology, right, then science and technology is there both in mains and prelims examination. So in prelims also and mains also, right? In prelims, number of question, if you talk about number of questions, then it is somewhere between 12 to 15 questions. 12 to 15 questions. So they are asking 12 to 15 questions from science and technology every year. Out of 100 question in prelims GS, right? 12 to 15 questions are from science and technology. I mean, if you take the recent days, I mean, recent example, then in 2025 prelims, the number of question was 17. So this much question was asked into that, right? And if you look into the main examination, and here the number of questions, right? Obviously, that's in paper 3 GS, right? So that you can see somewhere between 4 to 5 questions, right? So this year also in 2025 mains, science and technology, 4 questions were there, right? You can't ignore it. Whether you are from science background or commerce background or humanity background, you cannot ignore science and technology, because in prelims it is 15%, right? And in mains paper 3, you can see at least 4 to 5 questions are coming from science and technology every year. And not only that, these are the 4 to 5 direct questions, but some question can be linked with environment. So 5 questions were there in environment, and out of 5 questions, 2 questions were there in environment also, that can be dealt in a proper way only when you have a good grasp of science and technology. You got my point? So this 4-5 question is absolute number, but additionally we can do one thing, that we can also talk about that some question plus environment, right? So some questions from environment section can be linked with science and technology, right? I won't give any numbers, 1 or 2, but every year 1 or 2 environmental question is linked with that. And again, plus agriculture. So agriculture is a big topic, and there also you can see some questions coming from that area. So it will link with those areas also. Got the point? Anyway, now one thing we should be knowing, what are the syllabus part? Syllabus kya hai? Right. So syllabus of prelims is just general science. This is what it is written. UPSC has written just 2 words for syllabus of science and technology in prelims, that is general science. And when we talk about general science, there is no explanation in the prelim syllabus. So prelim syllabus will not tell you what general science mean. All you have to do to understand what general science could mean to you, है ना? What general science can mean for you, right? Here the syllabus is, here is syllabus, that UPSC syllabus. There are 3 paragraphs in paper 3 syllabus, and then in this syllabus you have seen, you might have seen, there are chapters name which are written. So chapters name have been written. The chapters name are like biotech, nanotech, then robotics, right? Then a space tech, IT, and computers. So these are the things which are written. These chapters names are written in main syllabus. So whatever I'm writing over here, it's a very factual information, but very important one. that what are the number of questions they are asking and what are things written for it by UPSC into syllabus, right? Normally, what do we understand? That whenever somebody talk about general science, it's like physics, chemistry, biology. General science in a most basic term, we understand that, okay, general science can be divided into three parts: physics, chemistry, and biology. Right? Okay, fine. That is our understanding, that is your understanding. But UPSC never says anything about it. And if you look into the past year question paper of UPSC, let's say syllabus alone will not make any sense. Syllabus alone will not make any sense unless you look into the past year question paper. What does syllabus mean to aspirant can only be understood once you look into past year question paper, right? So past year question paper is very important. So you need to keep looking into the PYQs so that you can understand what general science means. And once you look into the general science part, you will realize that they are not asking question from physics. They are not asking question from chemistry. They are not asking question from biology. In the last 10 years prelims, they would have hardly asked 10 questions from all these three areas. Every year they are asking 12 to 15 questions. But basic physics, basic chemistry, basic biology, they are hardly asking any question. I mean, nowadays they are asking question from biology, but these biology questions are mainly from virus and immunity after this pandemic COVID-19, because that thing became very important and then we started reading about it in various newspapers and news channels. You got my point? So yes, you understand it right. I mean, UPSC is more interested to ask questions which are linked with current development. And obviously the basics of chemistry, the basic of physics and basics of biology, right? That's not very important for UPSC. It is important for your understanding. But in terms of question, that's not reflecting into the past year question paper. So what does it mean? Then what is general science? From where they are asking question? So UPSC is asking question from this area. Even in prelims, that's a very important thing that you need to understand. Even in prelims, this area is making the way, right? So questions are from mains topic, right? So questions are from mains topic. Yes, biology is a little bit important, but majority of the question, if you look into 2025 question of prelims, then you will realize that out of 17 questions they ask, one question was there from virus, and virus, because COVID-19 made the virus very popular. Now virus is celebrity. And one question was there from EV battery, anode cathode, right? Which element can be used as? People can keep it in chemistry, but I would rather keep it in current development, because EVs and battery technology are something which is very important these days. So they are asking question from this area. And additionally, to make it more useful, we can add something. So additionally, we can add some more chapters which is never written into the UPSC syllabus, but we have to add it. That one is nuclear technology. Here I am writing. So we can add something with that. Nuclear technology plus defense technology. So this two technology we can add in so that we can have a proper understanding of it. So now you understand. Now keep this board in your mind. This particular board that I am talking about, science and technology, prelims, average number of question is 12 to 15, last year 17. Syllabus says general science, we understand physics, chemistry, biology, which is important for basic understanding of it. But the number of questions they are asking, that is coming from mains topic. So they are asking question from biotech, they are asking question from nanotech, robotics, space tech, IT and computers, nuclear and defense in prelims. So in prelims also, right? In prelims also, they are asking question from main topic. Now when we come to main examination, the number of questions are 4 to 5. 2025, 4 questions they asked. Few questions, 1 or 2 questions can link with environment and agriculture. So the number of questions might go up to 6 or 7. And then syllabus by UPSC is biotech, nanotech, robotics, space tech, IT and computers. But we have added 2 more topic which is not written in UPSC syllabus, but we'll have to add it. है ना? And nuclear tech and defense tech are 2 chapters that we are adding over here. Why? Because when you look into the past year question paper, you can see questions coming from there, but not mentioned in syllabus directly. That is why past year question paper is very important. You get my point? So, like this year only, if you see, there was a question on ITER, fusion energy, that is nuclear fusion, there was a question. Now, nuclear fusion is something that we need to understand, but not written anywhere in the syllabus. That is why we have written. Okay. So what you need to do now, what should be done? So what we can do about it? So our way will be, obviously, the first thing, basic science. That is physics, chemistry, biology. Right. This is important, and go with NCERT. 9th class and 10th class, not 11, 12. 9th and 10th NCERT is very good, and everybody has passed 9th and 10th class, right? And you can revise these 9th and 10th class physics, chemistry, biology on your own. Obviously, in this class, we won't discuss it, right? Because it's a basic thing, it's a basic reading, right? And basic reading you will be doing. I won't be discussing this topic with you. In this class, we are focusing on all the topics that is important for mains as well as prelims examination, right? So 9th and 10th NCERT and physics, chemistry and biology you have to go through. When you are reading NCERT book, you just keep one thing in mind. Do not read any formula, do not try to derive any numerical. So no numerical, no chemical formula, no equation balancing, nothing. You just need to read the text. You just need to read what is written into it. You get my point? That is how you manage all the thing out there. Second thing, right, classroom, class coverage. So class coverage, that is why we are here. So we are going to discuss all this chapter like biotech, nanotech, robotics. Then we'll talk about IT and computers, space tech, and the additional topic, that is nuclear tech, right, and defense tech. That's my duty to make you understand, right? Got the point? So basic science you will do, NCERT 9th and 10th. Class coverage is my duty. And remember, once we cover this entire thing, then it will be there for both prelims and mains. So we'll study all the thing in such a way that it will be sufficient for prelims and mains both. Because like I told you, out of 17th question, out of 15 question, they are hardly asking any question, right? Hardly asking any question in science, basic science, physics, chemistry, biology, they're hardly asking. All the questions are coming from this area. Now, third thing is current development. current development. So current development is something that we will cover in the class. Whatever happening till today, I will cover it. Let's say if I am talking about a space tech. So whatever happening till date in a space sector, I'll cover it. Don't worry. But obviously class will end eventually. Chapter will end eventually. Biotech I am studying, I am talking about. So any new thing coming up in biotech, that's my duty to do it, right? I'll make you understand, don't worry. But once biotech is over, the current development will still be going on. So for that, you have to consult, current affair YouTube videos are there that you can go. But one thing you should do, newspaper, that's must thing, and magazine. Any newspaper and magazine will be sufficient. So newspaper, magazine is very, very important that you should be doing, right? And the fourth one, and that's very important one, that you regularly look into syllabus and PYQs. We'll also discuss at times. And the fifth one is practice. So practice is not a problem because you get daily practice from the organization institute only, right? So writing practice, practice means both prelims practice and mains practice. And we'll do that, right? So my area where I'm working with you, my area is class coverage. I will be here. Any paper, any magazine. 9th and 10th NCERT book is sufficient for basic understanding. Rest of the thing we'll talk about here. है ना? Chalo. Now, so these are the 5 points that we wanted to tell you. Now the question is, how are we going to cover? Because this is the first class and we need to understand how are we going to cover. So let's say if we pick up any topic or any chapter. So if we take any topic or chapter, we are going to divide those topic and chapter into 4 parts for our understanding. That is our way to tackle it. The first area will talk about basic concept. We'll explore all the basic concept related to it. The second area that we'll explore is application part. Third area will talk about issues. And fourth area will talk about India and world. Development in India and position in world. So science and technology, we are going to have this particular way. We'll divide any topic, any chapter that will come across into 4 areas. The first area is basic concept. Second area is application. Third area is issues and concerns. And fourth area is India and world. That means what are the plans and policy for development of that technology in India? Is there any international collaboration? We'll explore that, right? Remember one thing, that this basic concept is more for prelims and less for mains. You get my point? Although we should not differentiate, but still, when we are talking about, then basic concept is more tilted towards prelims. It might have some importance in main examination, but while reading, you keep in mind, it's more prelims oriented. Application here, mains and prelims will have equal thing. So mains and prelims equal thing. Issues and concern, it is more like mains oriented, less prelims oriented. And here also mains and prelims, both kind of coverage. It means that while studying, we are not going to differentiate between mains preparation and prelims preparation. It's like holistic preparation. You take one topic, divide this topic into 4 parts and explore to the depth. Basic concept is all about that what kind of science is that, what are the different definition, components, parts. So we'll break it down to, it's a concept building thing again. And every technology or chapter that will have its own set of basic concept. Let's say we are going to talk about robotics. Then robotics basic concept is needed. What are robots? What is robotics? What are the different parts of robot? What are the different types of robot? These are the basic concept. Application, robotics, use of robot in industry, use of robot in healthcare, use of robot in defense, use of robot in agriculture. That we'll talk about here in application part. Then here, issues. What could be impact of robots if we use it extensively in industry? What kind of impact it will bring in healthcare, right? And then India and world. For robotics development, what kind of plans and policy we are having in India? And is there any international collaborations that we are having? So each and every chapter will divide into 4 areas, right? Got it? Chalo. So this is what little orientation. I am sure that you could have understood it, that what all it is all about. And we'll start with first chapter. So now it's a work time. We have to work now, right? Right. Anyway, so let's start with biotech. Biotechnology, and that's our first topic. So today we are going to talk about biotechnology and we'll explore the basic concept of biotechnology, right? And you know that in biotechnology there are 2 words. One is called biology, another is technology. So let's explore this. Very basic, don't worry. So biology is what? Biology is nothing, it's a branch of science dealing with the study of living beings, right? Right. So study of life. So here we can talk about that biology is all about, it's nothing but a study of life or living beings. So all we can talk about that biology is study of life or living beings. That's what the biology is. Everybody know about it, right? And technology is what? That if you apply scientific principles and theories for welfare of the mankind, then it is called technology, right? Right. You got the point? So technology is what? Application of science, right? So this is nothing. Here we can say application of science for human welfare. Human welfare. Now this human welfare is where UPSC is different from other examination. Because in UPSC, science and technology is not engineering. In UPSC, science and technology is not engineering, or it's not science classes. This is about UPSC preparation. And we need to understand one thing. We are all preparing for UPSC. Why? Because we want to become a civil servant. And why do we want to become civil servant? So that we can serve our country. So this examination is making you, this examination is making you fit to serve the nation, service to the nation. So everything that you talk about during this preparation, it's not like science is not like engineering science. Geography is not like college geography. Polity is not like, political science. There is always some element added, and that element is that human welfare, country's benefit. So we always relate the things with country's benefit. We always relate the things with human benefit, or let's say citizen centric thing, right? So biotechnology, biology and technology, you understand it. We'll start with biology part. A little bit of biology, right? Little bit of biology. You know that in biology they say that the study of life, and study of life, then the question comes, what is life? And when we come across such question, what is life, then it's very difficult to answer. Although biology has got definition of life also, but whenever we talk about what is life, just a minute. Whenever we talk about what is life, then this question push us to philosophy. It's more like philosophical, right? You got my point? But here we are talking about science. So scientists agreed upon one thing, that okay, let's not talk about life, let's talk about living beings. Living beings which hold life. So then they started talking about, okay, biology is a study of life, or for better clarity, we can simply say study of living beings. A study of living beings, right? And if you use any of such living beings or life process for the welfare of mankind, then it is called biotechnology. Let's say the crop that we are growing are living beings, and now we select the crop and we grow them in agriculture field. So selection of crop either by hybridization or by genetic engineering is called technology. So biology plus technology, biotechnology. Many of you must be knowing that bacteria and fungi, they do fermentation. And fermentation in your 10th class, we have talked about, it's a biological process. It's a biological process by biological entity. But this fermentation are being used in industries to make alcohol, bioethanol, to mix up with the petrol. This fermentation process are being used in winery. This fermentation are being used in different industrial process. So this bacteria, this fungi, these are the living beings. They are following a life process that is called fermentation, and this life process is now being used in different industry for the human welfare. So that is called technology. You get my point? So that is what biology and technology. But here we are focusing more onto biology today, right? Because when we talk about life, then it's very difficult. But yes, we can do one thing. We can talk about what are the characteristics of life. Characteristics of life. Can you tell me? What are the characteristics of life? What are the characteristics of life? Anybody? If there is a living being and there is a non-living being, what are the characteristics? Reproduction, cell structure, metabolic activity, and adaptation, right? Kamal Garg, I'm sure that you might have gone through my lecture from Khajana or somewhere else, because you are telling in the same order that I am going to discuss. Good one. It's a very great thing that if you have gone through and you remember it. Yes, you have to write. I'll go with the very traditional way of teaching. I will not use slides. I will write on the board. I'll make flow chart. I'll make diagram, right? So that you can also make notes on your own, right? Okay. So characteristics of life if we talk about, then obviously Kamal has already said a lot of things. So characteristic, the first one is called reproduction. Reproduction. The second character that we can talk about is cell structure. Cell structure. Third thing that we can talk about is metabolism. What is that? We'll talk about it. And the fourth thing we can talk about is adaptation. Adaptation. Right. Fourth thing that we can talk about is adaptation. Right. So, you know that scientists wanted to study life, but studying life is a very difficult job. So they shifted their focus on living beings, and then they talked about what kind of character a living being can have. Then they came up with lots many things. You can say like living being can walk, living being can digest, living being can give response to the signal, they can reproduce, right? There would be heart which will be pumping the blood, all kind of thing you can say. But in a most basic term, we can divide it into four areas: reproduction, cell structure, metabolism, adaptation. Right. Reproduction, why reproduction at first place? Because reproduction is so easy to understand. Only living can reproduce, non-living cannot reproduce. Reproduction is what? It's a way by which a living being can make its own copy. So reproduction is the act of making their own copies. तो अपने जैसे कॉपी बनाने के लिए रिप्रोडक्शन है. You get my point? Right. So that is what the reproduction is. Fine. तो अब देखो आप. So reproduction is act of producing offspring, that is reproduction. Right. Now we know one thing, that every living creatures are made up of cell. No cell, no life. If cell is not there, life will not be there. Right. Amoeba is a single cell structure. It's a living being. We are multicellular structure. We are made up of trillions of cells, and that is why we are here. Right. Right. And third one is metabolism. Metabolism is nothing but the life process. You know that? Metabolism is a very important thing. Metabolism is life process. Here if we could write, then metabolism is life process. And life process is what? Let's say if I am talking to you. If I am talking to you, that's a life process. If I am talking to you, that's life process. Right. If I am eating some food and digestion is going on in my body, it's a life process. If my heart is pumping blood in my blood vessels, it's a life process. If my brain is functioning and the signal from brain is coming and giving this, mouth area a task to speak, that is life process. You get my point? And these all life process are nothing but it's a biochemical reactions. These are all biochemical activity, right? These all are nothing but it's all biochemical activities. So life process is equal to nothing but it's a biochemical activities. So it's very, basic thing to understand, right? That in our body, everything which is happening inside, it's nothing but a chemical reaction. And these chemical reaction is occurring in a body, in a biological structure. So we don't even call chemical reaction. What we call it? Biochemical reaction. So these are nothing but the biochemical reaction. If I'm speaking and making movement in my muscle, it is biochemical reaction. Digestion in the body, it's a biochemical reaction. Excretion is happening. Kidney is filtering urea out of the body. Liver is doing a lot of chemical reaction. These all are biochemical reaction. So all this biochemical reaction that is occurring inside our body is life process, and that life process is metabolism. Many people say that, okay, definition of life is very difficult. Yes, it is difficult. But life has been defined in biology also. And they say that the total sum of biochemical reaction occurring inside our cells and body is life. So life is nothing but total sum of biochemical reaction occurring inside our body is life. You get my point? And we all know that in our body lots many chemical reactions are going on. What we eat is chemical. What we eat is chemical. Those chemicals are carbohydrate, proteins and fats and vitamins and minerals. So we keep on giving chemicals in our body. Why? Because all these chemicals will indulge into different type of biochemical reactions, different type of life process, and that is called metabolism. And then only our life will be possible. We eat rice, we eat chapati. Rice and chapati, these are nothing but the starch. Once we have a starch in our stomach, then digestive glands will release some hormone, enzyme. And this starch will be digested into maltose and glucose. Now these are chemical names. And this glucose will be splitted into carbon dioxide and water, and energy will come out. Again, it's a chemical reaction. Whatever I'm talking, it's not biology, it's a chemistry. I have eaten starch, starch digests into maltose, maltose digests into, right, glucose. And when glucose splits into carbon dioxide and water, then this glucose gives us energy. And the same carbon dioxide we breathe out. Right. The same carbon dioxide we breathe out. So that is again another metabolic activity. So why we are living? Just one thing. Why we are living? Because lots of biochemical reaction occurring inside our body. Okay? Now, to carry out any biochemical reaction, what you need? Let's say if I give a task to you, if I give one task to you, that everyone from this batch would go, and every one of you will go for chemical reaction. Every one of you has to do one chemical reaction. Then you will enter into the lab, and in the lab, everybody will get a particular equipment. Maybe somebody will get test tube, somebody will get beaker, somebody will get flask, and they will carry out their biochemical reaction or chemical reaction. Because everyone, Gargi, Temsu, Kamal, right, Utkarsh, Nihal, Lakshmi, I have assigned every one of you a specific chemical reaction. And for those specific chemical reaction, you need to have a specific set of instrument. In those instruments, you will put your chemical, you will get the desired result, and you will come to me. You will never do one thing. Let's put all the chemical at one place. Let's get a drum. Let's get a blue drum. Blue drum is very famous, you know that. And in this drum, we'll put all the chemicals. And then we'll let the biochemical or chemical reaction happen. So if all of us will put all the chemicals at one place, then it will blast. Isn't it? It will not have any direction. You will get nothing. Right? So for a certain biochemical or chemical reaction, we need setup. We need equipment. And cell is that setup and equipment. You know that? All this biochemical reaction or metabolic reaction will occur where? It will occur inside the cell. Cell is such a structure. Right. Cell is such a structure which will allow this biochemical reaction to occur inside. Inside the cell, we know there is mitochondria, there is Golgi body, there are lysosome, there are endoplasmic reticulum, and all different apparatus of the cell are assigned to perform a different function. So cell is a setup. In this setup, we can carry out all these biochemical reaction. That is why this metabolism can be done only in cell, right? If cell is not there, there is no metabolism. It's simple like that. If we have to carry out any chemical reaction, if we have to carry out any chemical reaction, then we need a lab. Because in a lab, we have different equipments to carry those chemical reactions. Similarly, if we have to carry out any biochemical reaction or life process or metabolism, we need cell. Because inside the cell, we'll have different components of the cell to carry out different chemical reaction. You get my point? So cell is needed. Where does metabolism take place? Metabolism will take place in cell structure. Now, there is one more thing. You know that chemical reactions can be of two types. One is constructive, another is destructive. So, constructive chemical reactions will give you matter, right? And destructive chemical reaction will give you energy, right? For that matter, if you do any kind of chemical reaction, if you have ever done any chemical reaction in your life, then this chemical reaction is around two things. Either it will give you matter, if it is constructive chemical reaction, something will combine and a new thing will form, right? Or if it is dissociation or destructive reaction, it will give you energy. Like burning of coal is again, it's oxidation of coal. It's a breakdown process. It will give energy, right? But then, you get my point? So, chemical reactions or biochemical reactions doesn't mean. Whether it is chemical reaction or biochemical reaction, it doesn't mean at all. Any kind of such reaction will either give you energy or it will give you matter, right? So let's say if there is a cell and inside the cell a lot of biochemical reaction is going on. And if lot of biochemical reaction is going on, then cell will have lots of matter and lots of energy. You got my point? Cell will have lots of matter and lots of energy, right? I'll tell you one more thing. You know that matter and energy is a very important thing. Matter and energy is so important that this entire universe is made up of matter and energy. Entire universe is made up of matter and energy. So if entire universe is made up of matter and energy, then what we are made up of? Even we are made up of matter and energy. Matter is our body mass. Energy is what we are talking about. You get my point? Entire universe is made up of matter and energy, and we are also made up of matter and energy. So our cells are also made up of matter and energy. If we are made up of matter and energy, then our entire body is made up of cells. So cells are also having two things. The structure of the cell is matter, and the functioning of the cell is due to energy. And once this metabolic activity is going on inside the cell will have lots of matter and lots of energy because of this metabolic activity. Because of all these life process and biochemical reactions, cell will have what? More surplus matter and surplus energy. And once the cell is having more matter and more energy, the cell will divide. And the moment cell divides, it's reproduction. The moment cell divides, it's reproduction. है ना? So now you can understand these three things are not separate. These are the same thing. It's just like reproduction, we keep it at one first place. Why? Because it's easy to understand reproduction. But why? What is reproduction? The most basic reproduction is division of cell. Amoeba will reproduce by dividing itself, right? So one amoeba divides into two, and that is reproduction. But why one amoeba will divide into two? Only when amoeba is having lots of matter and lots of energy. So matter and energy will be sufficient, more than sufficient, then only amoeba will divide. So from where this matter and energy would come? Because inside the cell of the amoeba, what is there? Metabolic activities are going on. And metabolic activities are nothing but the chemical reaction, biochemical reaction. And this biochemical reaction, either it will give you matter or it will give you energy. Because lots many biochemical reactions are going on. So what will happen? Definitely both matter and energy would be possible. So you get it? You got that? That life process is metabolism. That is biochemical activities. And biochemical activities can be constructive or destructive. Here I can write. It can be constructive. Constructive will give you matter. And it could be destructive. That is breakdown. That will give you energy. But to carry out any life process, we need cell. So metabolism is there inside the cell. And because metabolism is occurring inside the cell, so cell will have lots of matter and lots of energy. The cell will have lots of matter and lots of energy, then what will happen? The cell is itself made up of matter and energy. So eventually cell will divide into two parts so that the matter and energy can be equalized. Right? So these are the thing. Now, let's talk about adaptation. This is very important thing to discuss again. Adaptation is very unique thing. Adaptation is ability of the living organism in which living organism can change in themselves according to the changing environment. Right? So living organisms can change itself according to the changing environment. Let's say we all change according to the environment. Right? Don't we? हम change होते हैं ना? Okay. Listen very carefully. If summers is there, then we all have half t-shirt and cotton clothes, right? Why? Because that's a behavioral adaptation. And if winter will come, we'll all have jackets and coat and sweater to keep our body warm. That is also adaptation. But this adaptation is there in our behavior. You get my point? But adaptation can be, biological also. And biological adaptation are the important thing. It's the sign of life. No living structure will remain same all through the time. They will adopt themselves into the changing environment. Right. I'll give you one example, human being example if we talk about. Let's say if we go out and stand inside the sunlight for 2 hours, or let's say if there is a lot of strong sunlight and we go and play cricket for 4 hours in strong sunlight in afternoon or noon, then what will happen? Due to this strong sunlight, our body will get tanned, our skin will get tanned. Now, tanning of the skin is adaptation towards strong sunlight. You know one thing, that tanning is not a bad thing, right? Tanning is not a bad thing. Tanning is a adaptation measure because in a strong sunlight there are ultraviolet radiation, and this ultraviolet radiation, right, can harm your body, can harm your skin. It can do skin burn. It can make, it can trigger cancer in skin also. So what happens? In our skin, there is one pigment that is called melanin. Melanin is one such pigment which are black in color. And when we expose ourselves in a strong sunlight, then this melanin comes out. And this melanin is spread all through our body, skin. And then it darkens the color of the skin. So color of the skin is darkened, but there is one benefit. If somebody is having more melanin pigment, then negative impact of ultraviolet radiation will not be there. UV rays will not impact negatively. So yes, you are right. Fair people, they get more rashes and sunburn when they are in sunlight. But the people who are dusky in color, the people who are having dark complexion, they can fight with sunlight better. For them, sunburn and rashes are not a big problem, right? So remember one thing, that going out into the sun and getting the tanning is adaptation for good, right? That is adaptation. So many such adaptations are there. Let's say in autumn season, the plant will shed all the leaves because in autumn season there is a water scarcity. And if plant is having a lot of, let's say leaves, then the water will evaporate from the leaf surface. So what they do, they just shed their leaves. That is also adaptation. And once the situation is favorable, the new leaves will come up. You get my point? So these are adaptation which are going on, right? But adaptation can be of two types, short term and long term. What I explained is a short term adaptation. Like I told you, that if you go out in the sun for 2 hours, you come back tanned. So that is short term adaptation. Why short term? Because once you come back into the house, and then if you stay indoor for 2 days, 3 days, you take care of yourself well, your normal skin color will be restored. वापस से normal skin color आ जाएगा. Problem क्या है? But adaptation can be long term also, right? Long term कैसे होगा? So if you start traveling from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, then you will realize that people in Kashmir, they are fairer in complexion. Their complexion are very fair. And as we travel towards Kanyakumari and as we come down in central India, you will see that now people are not that fair. They are dusky. And once you reach to the Kanyakumari, Tamil Nadu and Kerala, you will find that majority of the people are darker in complexion. You get my point? Why it is so? It's a long-term adaptation because Kanyakumari is above Tropic of Cancer. So it is above Tropic of Cancer. Sunlight at Kashmir is above Tropic of Cancer. Kashmir is above Tropic of Cancer, and sunlight at Kashmir is oblique. It's oblique. It's not that strong. But as you go to the Kanyakumari, Kanyakumari is around equator. Kanyakumari is 8 degrees of equator. So sunlight is just strong. It's running. It's falling perpendicular. Day length is bigger. So stronger sunlight is there. So over the period, what happened, that all the people who are living around Kanyakumari, their complexion become darker, and then it got, right, that it got ingrained in the DNA. That was written in the DNA now. So now people who are living in Kanyakumari, Tamil Nadu and Kerala, they are inherently darker in complexion. But again, it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a very good thing. Why good? It means that it's a kind of, protective measure. Right? That is why if you go to the European country, people are fairer. But as we come towards the equator, people are darker in complexion. Right? I'll make one statement and you tell me it is true or false. Original inhabitant of equator region are darker in complexion. Is it true or false? Original inhabitant, the native inhabitant of equatorial region are darker in complexion. It is true or false? I'm waiting. Right. So as we travel from poles to equator, people towards pole are fairer. right? And people who are living near equator, original native people who are migrated is not, not talking about migrated one, original inhabitant, right? They are darker in complexion. This is true, biologically true. It's 100% true. That is why the black population is there around equatorial belt. That is why people at Kerala and Tamil Nadu, southern part of the India, 99% of them are darker in complexion. That's a long-term adaptation. Now they born dark because they have to fight with the strong sunlight and large amount of ultraviolet radiation. But people in Kashmir, they born white, they born fairer because they don't have such strong sunlight all the day, all the year, and even the ultraviolet radiations are less in there. So melanin is less in people in Kashmir, melanin is more in people near equator, right? Chalo. So this adaptation can be of two types. Here we can write two types. So there can be two types: short-term adaptation and long-term adaptation. Here we can write long term, sorry, term adaptation, short-term adaptation and long-term adaptation. Short-term adaptation and long-term adaptation. You got the point? Short-term adaptation is tanning. For example, we can write tanning. Here we can write example. Example, tanning. And long-term adaptation is black color or dark. Black is not a good word. So dark complexion. Dark complexion at equator. Okay. So this is what we learn. We just learned one thing, and that is what? Biology is a study of life or living beings. And then we started talking about what are the characteristics of life. Then we zeroed upon four things. All the things which is happening inside our body, digestion, excretion, respiration, these all together known as metabolism. Metabolism is life process. In chemistry term, it's a biochemical reaction, and biochemical reactions can be of two types. Constructive biochemical reaction can give you matter, destructive can give you energy. But to carry out this metabolism or chemical reaction, we need some setup. Cell is such setup which allow this metabolism to happen. No cell, no metabolism, and no metabolism, no life. That is why cell is very much needed for life. So cell will allow this metabolism to happen. Cell is a setup where metabolism can take place, and once metabolism will take place, the metabolism will give cell structure a lot of matter and a lot of energy. Rather, the cell itself is made up of matter and energy, and when the cell which is made up of matter and energy will have surplus matter and surplus energy, then cell will prefer to divide so that it can distribute matter and energy and it can work more efficiently. The moment it divides, the cell division is reproduction. So all three things are together. Metabolism inside cell structure will give matter and energy. More matter and energy, cell will divide, that is reproduction. Why reproduction is happening? Because cell is dividing. Why cell is dividing? Because cell has got lot of matter and energy. From where it got matter and energy? Because of the life process going inside the cell. Right? Got the point? So that is how it goes. Or adaptation is another one that we should know. It's additional. Fourth is adaptation, and even adaptation is also something that only living can exhibit. Right. Chalo. Now, let's move on to a very interesting thing. So now we know that we have something called living, something called non-living, but there is one very interesting creature that is called virus. You know, And you know about virus? So viruses are very unique because viruses are considered as connecting link between living and non-living. So viruses are connecting link between living and non-living. That's make the virus very interesting. Right. So at one end, it's living. At the other end, it's non-living. It can show both type of character. That is why we cannot say viruses are truly living or truly non-living. We cannot say that. So what exactly the viruses are? So these are the connecting link. How can we say that? How viruses are living? So viruses are living because they can reproduce. They can reproduce. And anything who can exhibit reproduction will be considered as living. So viruses can reproduce, that is why they are living. But at the same time, viruses are non-living. Why it is non-living? Because they don't have cell structure. No cell structure. And if cell structure is not there, then there is no metabolism. No metabolism. No metabolism. That means they don't show any life process. Right. I'll prove it. Don't worry. Right. Just let me check what our YouTube Janta is doing. Okay. So they can reproduce. So when they are reproducing, then they are living. And they do not have cell structure. They do not show any metabolism. That is why they are non-living. Right. Okay? You might have seen virus, I'm sure. And when you look at the virus, I can draw one virus for you. This is virus. The most common virus that we know is like this. On a book, magazine, paper, we see such a structure. Right? And the other very common viruses that we now know about is coronavirus. It's look like this. Everybody know about this virus, isn't it? Coronavirus is celebrity of our time. But does it look like cell? It is not looking like cell. And one thing is common in both viruses, that inside this yellow part is called DNA or RNA. Right. So these are the viruses. These are the structure of the virus that we can talk about. This white part is made up of, this is what? This yellow part here and here. This is either DNA or RNA. Right. So they have either DNA or RNA. And this white part that we can talk about, it's nothing but the protein part. So this cover is made up of protein. It's not cell structure. These are the structure of the virus. Right. So these are the common structure of virus. You can see. Structure of virus. And there you can see no cell structure at all. All it has got is a protein cover, and inside the protein cover there is DNA or RNA. That's it, right? So now if there is no cell structure, then there is no metabolism, because metabolism is a life process. If that metabolism is not going on, then it's dead. कई बार इंसान मरते हैं ना, whenever somebody is dying or somebody is dead, we just check whether the pulse is going on, whether the breathing is going on, because metabolic activity is life process. If life process are going on, then that person is living. If life process stops, the person is dead. Even if the cells are there, because after the life process stops, cell is dead itself, the body is dead. In virus, there is no life process, there is no metabolism. Why? Because there is no cell structure. But how can they reproduce? How can they reproduce? The question is. So I'll tell you one thing. Viruses are like terrorists. Yes, they are like terrorists. Viruses are like terrorists. And these terrorists can attack any household. You know, the cells in our body are like a small house. Like we all have house, right? Krishna, Manjunath, Kamal, Venkateshwar, right? I mean, we all have our houses in this country, and our house is a place where we do all our activities. But when terrorists enter into India, do they have house? A terrorist entering into India, they don't have house. All they have is RDX and AK-47. All they have is just one AK-47. The terrorist will enter into India with AK-47 and they are moving here and there. They are looking for any house to enter into. Any weak house, any house where doors are open, any house where security is less. And then terrorist might enter into a less secure house. And the moment the terrorist enter into house, then what will happen? Terrorist will take out the AK-47. It will show the AK-47 to all the house members. And he will announce that, see, this is AK-47, very powerful weapon. If you do anything against my wish, I'll fire and I'll kill you. And then he will announce that now this entire house, an entire house member will work according to terrorist wishes. So terrorist will announce that now onwards, I am the owner of this house. You all will be serving me. Because of AK-47, this terrorist hijacked the house. And now the house belongs to terrorist. Inside the house, whatever happens, now that will happen according to terrorist wishes. Let's say you are vegetarian and you are planning to cook paneer butter masala. But terrorist entered. And with AK-47, terrorist has hijacked the entire house mechanism. And now terrorist is giving command that no, I don't eat paneer. Please make, please bhi nahi lagayega. He won't use the word please. Please, he won't use. He will say that make chicken butter masala. Chicken butter masala. And the chicken butter masala you will have to make. Why? Because terrorist is saying. And this chicken butter masala will be consumed by terrorist. And terrorist will become more and more stronger. In your house, if there is one AC, air conditioner, terrorist will say that I'll use the AC. You guys go with the cooler or fan. AC is mine. So you see that when the terrorist enter into your house, God forbid it ever happens. But if it happens, then terrorist will use all the nutrient of your house for himself or herself. It will also use the energy of the house for his own comfort. And we all house member will become weak and weak. And one day the house will be destroyed. Exactly same is done by the virus. Virus don't have any cell. Virus don't have any cell. No cell at all. What virus has got is DNA and RNA. This DNA and RNA is very strong. We know that we have our cell. In our cell also we have DNA and RNA. In our cell also we have DNA and RNA. Let's say this is our cell. This is human cell. So in our cell we have nucleus. Nucleus में DNA, RNA is there. So there also this is nucleus, and inside the nucleus we also got DNA and RNA, and all these structures are there. This is cell. But our DNA is weaker than the virus DNA. Virus DNA may be small, but it's stronger. Viral DNA is maybe strong, but it is very, very small, but it is very strong. So our own DNA will not be able to counter it. The moment a virus enter into our cell, with the help of its DNA or RNA, it will hijack the entire cell. Now cell belongs to the virus. Virus is controlling the entire cell structure. Who is controlling? Virus is controlling. So virus is controlling the entire cell structure. You get my point? Here you can see. Right. And then what will happen? Because cell is under command of the virus, virus will make the cell to do all the metabolic activity in his own way. Remember, before attack, virus was not having cell. But once virus has attacked the cell belongs to the virus. So virus has got a cell also. And when the cell is there, virus will also do metabolic activity. And both cell metabolic activities it can do, so it will reproduce. Because it will be able to produce more matter, more energy for its own. So you can write. You can write. Now you will have to write something. And you can write. Virus enter in a cell. Virus enter in a cell and hijacks cellular mechanism. Virus enter in a cell and hijacks the cellular mechanism. Right. Now, the cells will be controlled by, virus. Cells will be controlled by virus, and virus will make protein and energy. Virus will make protein of its own kind. ऐसे लिखो, virus will make protein of its own kind. And it will utilize energy inside the cell. Right? Utilize energy inside the cell. Right? Got the point? So I compared virus as a terrorist. Like terrorists enter into the house, they have AK-47. Here virus is having DNA and RNA. With the help of AK-47, the terrorist will do what? It will capture the entire house, hijack the entire house. Once house is there in their control, then it will compel the housemates to cook and to serve them. Similarly, virus will enter into the cell. Once they have entered into the cell, they will capture the entire cell. Entire cellular mechanism is now being controlled by the virus, and metabolism will also be controlled by the virus. Virus will make protein of its own kind, and then virus will also utilize energy. So you can write, ultimately, virus ultimately virus will reproduce inside the cell. Ultimately, virus will reproduce inside the cell and cell will be destroyed. And cell will be destroyed. Right? Cell will be destroyed. Got the point? So, this is very unique that viruses are connecting link between living and non-living. It simply means that if virus is not inside the cell, then it is a non-living. Because when it is not inside the cell, when the virus is falling on this table, when virus is there on the table, on a floor, anywhere outside the cell, then those viruses are non-living. They are like just particle. They are particle where protein cover is there and there is one DNA and RNA. But the moment virus enter into our body, then this virus is parasite. And inside the body, they will enter inside the cell. And the moment it enters inside the cell, now it will capture the cell. So virus got a cell. Apna cell nahi, hijacked cell. So virus has got hijacked cell. And once they have cell, they will have life process. And because they have life process, so it will reproduce. One virus will enter inside the cell. 100 virus will come out after destroying that cell. Now 100 cells will be captured by the 100 virus. Now 1000 virus will come out. And that is how we get ill and sick. Hai na? Now, let's move on to the next part. And there we are going to talk about types of virus. Types of virus. The first category that we can talk about on the basis of genetic material. On the basis of genetic material. You know genetic material? What we have as genetic material? We have DNA or RNA. So viruses can have either DNA or RNA, right? So there is something called DNA virus. DNA virus. So if virus is having DNA inside, then it is known as DNA virus, right? So DNA virus, here genetic material is DNA. DNA is genetic material. That means inside it will have DNA, right? For example, if I can give you, then pox virus, any pox virus. Example, pox virus, right? We have smallpox, now chicken pox, and again something is called monkeypox. So if you come across any pox virus, then pox viruses are a DNA virus. They are RDNA virus, right? And the second example that we can give, second part that we can talk about is RNA virus. And when I say RNA virus, it's a very simple thing, that genetic material is RNA. Genetic material is RNA. Example, right? The example is very simple. Example are many more, right? You get my point? So many examples are there. If I can give you, like HIV. HIV is RNA virus. right? Dengue, polio, flu, influenza, any flu, any influenza, right? You get my point? Measles, these all are disease. Mumps, these all are disease, right? Even nowadays, Hanta, Nipah, Nipah, Nipah was in current news. COVID, coronavirus, right? Got the point? So these all are RNA virus. So RNA virus has got a long list, very long list, right? And one more thing you should be knowing, that this RNA virus is also known as, retrovirus. What we call it? Retrovirus. Yes, you will see less example in DNA virus, but you will see more example in RNA virus, right? So why it is called retrovirus? RNA virus is called retrovirus, whereas DNA virus is just DNA virus. There is no such name like retrovirus or any other virus. DNA virus is simple DNA virus. But RNA virus, there is a special name given that is called retrovirus. Just a minute. You give me 1 minute, I'll come. So why it is called retrovirus, that we'll talk about. Retro means what? Can anybody tell me what does retro mean? Right. What is retro? What do you mean by retro? Anyone? So retro is English word and we use it at various places. What does it mean? Okay, Kamal has said that old. Right. So retro means old. Retro means old. Retro music, yes. Right. So retro means older one. If we call RNA virus as retrovirus, that means this virus is older and DNA virus is comparatively newer. It also indicates one thing, that RNA came earlier than DNA, because retro would have come earlier and then after that DNA would have come. So in this entire biological world, DNA and RNA are two genetic material. These are the two genetic material. There are lots of material. Protein is also there, carbohydrate is there, starch is there, fatty acids there, RNA is there, DNA is there. But if we talk about genetic material, it could be either RNA or DNA. and RNA appear first on this earth when the life was going through origin, life was about to start. Then first genetic material which came on the earth was RNA. And the first virus which appeared was retrovirus. And then DNA virus came. And obviously DNA is more stable. I'll tell you, in the coming classes, I'll tell you, DNA is much more stable than RNA, and RNA is very less stable. Stability of the RNA is not good. So obviously, when the nature has to pick one, the nature will pick stable one. So retroviruses are the only virus where RNA is present as genetic material. Whereas in the rest of the organism, any organism that you look around, human beings to ant and from grasses to bamboo, everywhere DNA is genetic material. DNA is genetic material, right? Although we do have RNA in our body, but RNA in our body is not genetic material. They are supporting material. They are protein synthetic material. Although this is a very first class, and I'm just talking about so many things together, but believe me, with the time, it will all get clear and clear. And believe me one thing, all of you are aspiring for UPSC. You are UPSC aspirant. So things you should learn is very important, right? We are not talking something which is not important. We are talking something so that we can connect somewhere else, right? So you can write, in entire biological world, retroviruses are the only structure. Retroviruses are only structure which have RNA as genetic material. Which have RNA as genetic material. In rest other organism, DNA is genetic material. DNA is genetic material. So except for retroviruses, everywhere you have DNA as genetic material. हर जगह क्या है? DNA ही है genetic material, right? Everywhere DNA as genetic material. Got the point? But retrovirus is the only viruses which has got RNA as genetic material. Second point you can write. RNA came first on this earth. RNA came first on this earth before DNA. RNA came first on this earth before DNA. है ना? RNA came first on this earth before DNA. Shushmat Ghosh is asking here, in case RNA, it means backward, that is reverse transcription. Yes, reverse transcription, will look into that, Shushmat, don't worry. So in a coming classes, we'll talk about central dogma, and there will do talk about reverse transcription, but this is the very first class, Shushmat. So I cannot talk about reverse transcription at this particular time, because this class is not only for science background student, right? I am teaching science student, the student who have done NEET preparation. Many of me may be medico, many of me may be doctors, but there are people from history background, there are people from maths background, there are people from commerce background, there are people from, humanity background. My duty is to make them understand. If you are from science background, very good. It means that you don't need my long lectures of understanding. Yes, because when I say one sentence, you can relate with it because you know it all. And I'm very happy about it that you know. Right. But my commitment is more towards those people who are from non-science background. My commitment is more towards those people who have not done their biotechnology and not done their other thing. You get my point? So, right. So, don't worry about it, Sushmat, and any other person will talk about it. Right? So, you understand why it is called retrovirus? Because this retrovirus, the retro word is there so that we can have a sense that it came early. Ye purana hai, it is older. You get the point? Right? Okay. Now, the second thing we can talk about. That's a one way to classify. Second one is, so here we talked about types of virus. A on the basis of genetic material, and then B on the basis of infection. On the basis of infection. So on the basis of infection we can talk about, right? For that, it's a very common one, like animal virus. Animal virus. The animal virus will infects animals, animal cells. Second could be plant virus, plant virus. It infects plant cells. Third one is known as, the third category is known as bacteriophage. Bacteriophage. And it will infect bacteria. Bacteria is a target. Got it? And the fourth one is called mycophage. Mycophage. It will infect fungi. Fungi? Right. So on the basis of infection, there could be 4-1. On the basis of infection, there could be 4 different types. Animal cell, the virus which is infecting animal cell, it is called animal virus. So remember, viruses are not animal. The name has been given animal virus. Plant virus. Viruses which are infecting bacteria, they are called bacteriophage. Phage means virus. This phage word means virus. So this is another word for virus. And then this is mycophage. Myco means fungi, phage means virus. Isn't it? Any problem in understanding? Any problem with understanding? Right. So remember, why we are talking about virus? Because we first talked about, remember, the entire lecture you should have in your mind. We started our discussion that what could be the characteristics of living, and we decided upon 4 things. Living beings will reproduce because its cell will divide. So it will have cell for sure. Why cell will divide? Because cell will have extra matter and energy, more than that it could handle. Because metabolism is going on inside the cell. Then the question is, what is metabolism? Metabolism is life process. Everything which is happening inside our body, all the life process, all the biochemical activities, That is metabolism, like breathing, like respiration, like excretion, like, digestion. These all are metabolic activities. And metabolic activities are biochemical activities. And any chemical activity can be of two types, constructive and destructive. It can give matter and energy. That is why cells are having matter and energy. Because for metabolism, we need a setup, and cell is a setup. Cell is a setup where metabolism can happen. That is why for any living organism, cell is a very basic requirement. And viruses are not living because they are not having cell. No cell, no life, because there is no life process. If cell is not there, metabolism will not be there. And if metabolism is not there, then what will happen? Life will not be there. So viruses are non-living because they don't have any cell. You cannot imagine any life form without any cell. If the virus has to show the characteristics of living, the virus must get one cell. And the nature has made virus in such a way that viruses are having either DNA or RNA inside. And this DNA and RNA are so powerful that the moment the virus enter inside the cell, with the help of this DNA and RNA, this virus can hijack the cell. So virus was lacking a cell, now virus has hijacked the cell. And once virus has hijacked the cell, cell belongs to me, cell belongs to you. But the problem is, now the cell is under function of the virus, under control of the virus. So our own cell will work against us. Virus will utilize all the resources of the cell. And if all the resources of the cells are being utilized by virus, then what will happen? The virus will be killing our cell. Same thing happened in corona. Same thing happened in corona. When we got infected by coronavirus, what happened? This coronavirus was everywhere. Everybody who is infected by corona, if we come in contact with that particular person, then that person is breathing out, sneezing out. Viruses are coming in the air and we are inhaling it. Till the time viruses are outside, no problem at all. Virus is there on your palm and on your finger, no problem. Because this is, if virus is here, no problem at all. Because from this particular skin, virus cannot enter. But if we use our nose with it, then the virus will find a way. It will get inside the nose and with the breathing pattern will suck the virus in and the virus will attack our lung cell. And when the lots of lung cells will be attacked by the virus, then virus will be killing the lung cell because virus will use these lung cells for their own activities. Isn't it? So that's the problem with the virus. So virus has got, that is why the virus is parasite. Virus is absolute parasite. That means virus can be living only when it is in parasitic form. So we need to understand virus. Life, पढ़ना हमारा काम नहीं था. Our discussion was not around life. We never wanted to talk about life up to that length. We just wanted to talk about how viruses can function. Because UPSC is asking lot many questions around virus. And in future, in a coming class, we'll use this concept of the virus, right? Now, there are something about viruses that we can talk about, extra points about the viruses. So let's talk about note. Some notes we are writing, right? You know that there are something called zoonotic virus. Zoonotic virus. Can anybody tell me what is zoonotic virus? What is zoonotic virus? Can anybody tell me? What is zoonotic virus? Sometime a virus can be in an animal. So virus is originally in an animal, right? Virus is originally in an animal and it is doing some disease in animal. But one day a human get in touch with that animal and then the virus will get transferred to the human being and then it will make the human being diseased. So if source of virus is animal and if the virus is coming from animal to human being, then it is called zoonotic. There is another way, human to human. Then it's not zoonotic. Zoo means animal. Like rabies is zoonotic. Rabies is zoonotic. Rabies, main target of the rabies are dogs. But when the dog bites, then this rabies get transferred to the human. Right. Got my point? So zoonotic virus you can write. You can write. Viruses coming from animal to human. Viruses coming from animal to human are known as zoonotic virus. Are known as zoonotic virus. Example, HIV. So HIV originally came from animal to human being. So that's also zoonotic in nature. Coronavirus came from animal to human being. Rabies, right. So rabies is one of the, because rabies has nothing. If rabies is there, person will have to die. 100% death rate. Right. Right. So how can we counter the virus? How can we counter the virus? If we get infected by the virus, then there are very less options available. Viruses are non-living entity which get inside our body, get inside our cell, and inside our cell they start behaving like living. So antibiotics will not work on it, right? Antibiotic will not work on it. That is why we don't have any treatment of viral disease. Viral disease treatments are not available. You can tell me COVID, what kind of treatment we have? We don't have any treatment for COVID. We have vaccination. Vaccination is not treatment. Vaccination that we take before the disease can come in. Right. You got the point? So how do we get rid of the virus? Our body will produce a special protein to counter the virus, and that is called interferon. And if we could develop interferon and antibodies at right time, then we can kill the virus. And many a time we fail to do so, so virus will kill us. That is why common cold, every time common cold which we suffer, that's because of the flu virus. And there is no treatment of the common cold also. Even common cold cannot be treated. Why? Because there is no treatment of viral disease. Yes, if the viral infection is there, we keep the person under observation of the doctor. So doctor would be there for observation purpose. They will try to subside the symptoms to comfort the patient, and viral disease will go on its own. All we can do that we can support the patient. Got the point? So you can write. Next point. Next, that is the first note. Second note you can write. Our body produces a special protein, interferon. Our body produces a special protein, interferon, to counter the viral infection, to counter the viral infection. Right. And we know one thing, that viruses are these are the absolute parasite. So viruses are parasite. Needless to say, cause many disease. All the disease name we have talked about. Right. So viruses are harmful in general, right? But at some places we can use viruses for benefit also, right? So viruses can be useful in in one is biotechnology. Second, water purification process, right? Water purification process. So biotech is a one place where we can use viruses. We'll talk about that. Biotech is our topic. Water purification and to study evolution. So for the study of evolution, so how life has originated and all, that some insight comes from virus, right? Got the point? So remember, why we are talking about virus? Because we know that viruses can be useful. There are some uses of it. And the best use of virus is in biotech. We'll talk about that in detail in a coming time. Don't worry about it. Very much detail we are going to talk about. Right? Moreover, right. So these are the application of virus. Some of them. Right. And we have already gone through the biggest attack of the virus in the last 100 years, and that is what? Corona, COVID. Obviously, whatever we have studied in today's class, UPSC has asked one question out of it. So one question UPSC is already asked, and the question of the UPSC was PYQ. I can tell you. I can just tell you the PYQ was right. The question was viruses can infect. Viruses can infect. Option 1, plants. Second, animals. Third, fungi. And then there was A, B, C, and D. And it says that all three, 1 and 2, 2 and 3, 1 and 3. What would be the answer? This was a past year question paper. Year I don't remember, but this was a question that they asked in the past year. So question is in front of you. And I want answer. Anshuman is saying A. Aman Raj is saying A. Very good. Temsu is saying A. Very good. Right. Pooja A. Everybody is A. Obviously. Taza hai na. It's a very taza thing. Because just we talked about that viruses can infect plant, animals, mycophage and bacteriophage. है ना? See, viruses can infect all. तो फिर हो गया. Got the point? So we'll try to include 1 or 2 PYQ in every lecture so that we can relate with the topic. You get the point? And this is our first class, so you need to be very patient in the first class. First few classes are of basic concept where we are recalling all the things. I'm just recalling some things that you have studied in your lower classes. That's why my pace may be a little fast, or maybe sometime it might sound like little slow, depending upon your background, your understanding. But after 3 classes, tomorrow when we meet, we are going to talk about basic cell structure, DNA and RNA. And from third class, we'll start with biotechnology core area. So even the next class is going to be a little basic. It's about basic concept of biotechnology tomorrow also. And then we can, from the third class, we can go ahead and we can talk more about it, right? So that was all for today. And I just want you to make nice notes because I write lots many things on the board, and you also have to write the way I am writing, and sometime I'll be dictating so that you can make a revision notes as well, right? Got the point? And that is how we will go ahead, we'll collect all the things and we'll build up a very good concept around it, right? So thanks a lot, and I'll see you tomorrow at the same time, 4:15, and we'll have 2 hour long class, and I'll discuss many more things tomorrow, but it will belong to the basic concept of the